Hey everyone, welcome back to class. In this lecture, we're going to be actually opening up R in our studio for the first time. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the workflow to maybe open up R by accident first, and then show you what it looks like to open up RStudio, and you'll see why it's so much more user-friendly. This is going to be operating on the assumption that you've already done the download walkthrough. If you get to this point and don't have R downloaded, go back and do that. Additionally, if for some reason you don't have enough storage or you don't have a device that will support RStudio, you need to go to the library, try to get something there first, or work on one of the library computers. It should have it on there, or it should be compatible to get it on there. Lastly, if you don't have any of those options available, then you can use RStudio Cloud, which I'll individually work with you on how to set that up. But there's limited computational time on RStudio Cloud, so I'd prefer you not use that. Let's just move with this first. So this is operating under the assumption that you've downloaded R in RStudio, and I'm going to share just my desktop and show you what this workflow looks like. So say I wanted to open up R first. So if I open up R, it's going to look something like this. It's going to just be the console, okay? And the console is the area where you just write your R code. It's a lot less user-friendly. So if you just open up R, you've downloaded both, but you open up R, this is what it's going to look like. Now, I don't want you guys operating with just the console. There are so many extra helpers that you can use. So let's not just use R on its own, but this is what it looks like. If you get to this point and sort of try doing your homework, it's going to be really difficult. So don't use this, but this is what it looks like. So we don't need to save that session. Instead, I want you guys to boot up RStudio. And hopefully you can see this on the bottom that there's a little RStudio icon. It'll load it and boom, we've got this beautiful interface. This is the project that I have opened for your class. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a walkthrough of what this looks like. But when you have RStudio open, it'll look like this. Your colors will likely be a little bit different because I like to play with my colors. And I can show you guys in a separate video if you ever wanted to know how to do that. But just start with the original colors. And go from there. So you'll notice this bottom left-hand corner is your R console in the exact same way that if you just booted up R on its own and not RStudio, the console would show up. This is your R console. Awesome. The far right-hand side right here, this is going to be your like directory. So where all your files are stored. If you're working within this project environment, a project is a place where it stores all of your files in the same thing. So when you boot up a R project, so my R project right now, you can see in the top right-hand corner is PLS 3055 on my Mac. It'll have all of my modules all ready to go because all the files are saving in the same place. So I highly recommend that you start by starting a project for this course, but we'll get to that in a second. The environment, so whenever I open up a data set or I create a new object or create a variable, something like that, or I run a statistical analysis and create an object of that, it'll show up on this top right-hand corner. I can save all my files. I can open these. I can actually quite literally open them and see it'll come. If I click on this, it'll open up the data set over here. And this is like your viewer. And this is also the place where, so on the left, so right-hand top is your environment. And then the left-hand area is kind of your viewer. So you can open data sets there. And you can also open up new files there. So this is an example of what a basic R file looks like. But for the purposes of your homework, I'd really like you guys to open a R Markdown file. So you're going to go to File, New File, R Markdown. I'm going to give it a title, which is going to be called Module 2. I think this is Part 5. And it's going to be a document. I'd like that document to, let's say we want to produce it in HTML. That's fine. It's just how it compiles. And we're going to say, okay. And that's going to give you this beautiful R Markdown file. So here's the great part about R Markdown. If I wanted to maybe submit some homework, and I wanted to have that with inline code in it, I can make an R Markdown file. I'm the author, have the date, and I can knit this. And it'll knit, and you can tell, oh, I gotta save it again. So let's just say module 2, part I can knit it. It takes a second just to think about it. Boom. Okay. And it creates functionally a homework assignment for me. So you can see that it's got my title, my name, and the date. And then I can include all sorts of my visualizations and written kind of versions of my visualizations. So you can see hopefully both of these, that in my our markdown file, you can see all of the text and then how it looks over here. You can also include an embedded link, all links, all the code, all the plots. So this is an awesome way to complete your homework moving forward when we're particularly in a quant heavy moment. So there might be moments where I ask you to use this, but for the purposes of your homework and being really clear when I ask you to do things in R, I'd like you to probably be using this sort of framework. If I asked you to do a screenshot maybe for a homework assignment, I'll probably want you to take a screenshot of not this one, but this. So I can see that you're in the RStudio pane. You've got a title, you've got your authorship in there. And I can see that you're actively using your own R. So other things to note, if you wanted to know what version of R you're using, the underline, like under the hood, what you're using, I'm using R version 4.2.1. So if you realize that you're not updated enough, I probably have an update to do. You can check that here. You can also check the version of RStudio you're on. I think it's about RStudio. Yep, you can see what version you're on by clicking RStudio and about RStudio. And that's kind of the general layout. So if you want to create a project for this class, which I highly recommend doing because it'll just put all of your files in the same place, you're going to click New Project. You're going to start a new directory. You're going to go New Project. And you're going to start a directory name. So this is kind of going to be a crazy pathway because I'm using Google Cloud Storage. But you'll say PLS 3055 and start it, create project. And then at that point, we'll give you a new project, which will then save all of your files and all of your work in the same place. So instead of just storing everything in some random folder or multitude of different folders, you can store it all in one folder in one project. And that can be called PLS 3055 or something like that. That way you can always really quickly, easily access all of the things we need for our course. So that's probably where we're going to stop in terms of the R walkthrough for this moment. So big key things you need to know is where your console is, right? So where your console is where you're writing your code. You need to know where the environment is, where your directory is, where all the different files are. How we need to notice how to start a project, and then further how to make an R Markdown file, which will allow you to kind of complete some homework and also write yourself notes. If you're just working in R and you want to remind yourself how you did that project, you can do that in R Markdown.